Great. So welcome everyone to our monthly mySpeakerBusiness community call. And oh my God, we had a history already. And I love to see that again today. We are spanning the whole globe again between Europe, US, and Asia. That's wonderful. And everyone that's been here with us before knows that these calls are pretty much, an opportunity for you to get practical hints and tips from our guest experts on how you can make your speaking business flourish even further. Okay, we are here to offer you a space where you can ask your personal questions on, how you can step up with your speaking, and really exchange with other professional speakers as well, get help and support, from others also on your own high priority projects, especially when they're linked to any kind of speaking engagements or anything that gives voice to people. And then also just, for a lot of us, it's lunchtime, so take a break with us, okay, and then just have some fun with us. So as you know, every month we have a wonderful expert guest, and we have a great friend of mine today. And we met actually not so long ago in India, right? And you are from Singapore. And our topic today is very much about how you as a speaker and entrepreneur can transform your speaker business or your business overall using collaboration. And I know our guest today is right now also running actually an online summit in which I had the honor to be interviewed about the power of collaboration. And I know you are the collaboration and networking and connection power in itself. So as we all know, speakers, entrepreneurs, and experts that collaborate get so much more visibility, gain clients faster, get on stages more, and get any kind of support, make more money faster and everything else. It has a major impact. Collaboration is a magical key to success in so many ways. So let me introduce our guest today a little bit, and just so that you know who we have with us today. So she is actually really wanting to transform a business to reach bigger audiences and industries, okay? And, so she is really an amazing lady, as I said, that I met in India. She's an Australian entrepreneur, and she's built other businesses before, and she's a born connector. She's a born connector, really. And she mostly speaks, guess what, about small business collaboration, right? All over the globe. She's a dynamic speaker and entrepreneur. She spent 20 years building strong relationships globally and helping small businesses come together to learn, share, and grow. In 2012, she sold her show business, the Import-Export Show, and moved to Singapore. Okay, and in 2015, she turned 40, and I love the decision she made to live her 40s to the max. And it's a great mission. And she started a blog to motivate women in their 40s to take a decade-long approach to living with energy, confidence, and style. Her blog has attracted more than 30,000 women globally who are creating their maximalist. Okay, and now what she's working on since 2016, she founded Busy.co, where the world's smallest businesses get together to collaborate. And we'll talk about all the power of collaboration and what Busy is doing and so on. So, Busy's vision is really to enable collaborations that solve the world's greatest challenges. What a beautiful, wonderful, amazing vision and mission. So, welcome with me, everyone, Miriam Feiler. It's really wonderful to have you with us today, Miriam.
Well, thank you so much, Monique, for the opportunity to meet with your group, your keynote speakers that you work so closely with. As Monique said, I had the joy of speaking to her only a few weeks ago as we were preparing for our Small Business Collaboration Summit, which launched today and is happening over the next 3 days. And that is really about interviewing entrepreneurs around the world who've grown their businesses through collaboration. I will share Monique's interview with her tonight. I'll send it to you, and please share it with your group, because if you are a doubter of collaboration currently, I'm hoping at the end of this call, and obviously after seeing Monique's interview, you will no longer be. You will be an evangelist for collaboration and realize that without collaborating, your business cannot grow and have the impact that it has the potential to have. All of us, I imagine, on the call are solopreneurs. We work, either on our own or in very small teams. And so very much it's us versus the world. So it's a lonely journey. And if you don't start working with other small business owners, you cannot create the magic. You cannot create the products, the offerings, and get the message out and really have the impact that you want to make in the world. Now, I just want to run through a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today, just to reinforce, give a bit of a structure. So I want to start by talking about what business collaboration is and why you need to embrace it. Then I'll go and talk about the 4 key steps you need to implement collaboration and implement a collaboration plan for your business. So I would probably say, if you're currently working to a business plan, it might be a bit controversial. I'd say rip it up and let's start to create a collaboration plan, because I think it will actually take you further in a much more focused way. Then I'll go through a few case studies, my personal case studies, and also friends, colleagues who have collaborated and are keynote speakers, and it's a major part of their business, and how they have, I guess, diversified in a way that has actually strengthened their status as a thought leader, that has enabled them to get more keynote speaking engagements, and how they have used the other aspects of their business. Some of you, I imagine, might be consultants or authors, or are using then the power of keynote speaking to really elevate the message and what you're aiming to do. And then we'll look at how, maybe start to have an interactive discussion about, maybe ways that you can create new opportunities for your business, and happy to answer any questions and give some tips and advice. So we'll just start by talking about what is business collaboration. So business to business collaboration is very much the process of working with other business owners to create something together which on your own you would not have been able to achieve. And it's possible you may not have been able to achieve it at all, or you may not have been able to achieve it at the speed in which you wanted to on your own, or with the outcomes that you could have achieved on your own. So it's very much about creating a situation where you have opened up the possibilities to embrace working with other small business owners, and that you've kind of put that out there and given that intention to collaborating, and letting people know that you want to collaborate and that you're open to collaborating. Now, a lot of small business owners have an issue with maybe being open or sharing what they're working on, or sharing what the direction that they want to go in. And the problem when you keep these things to yourself is that your network and your friends in business can't then support you. So I think the first thing I would say is ask for help and open up and let people know. It might not be what you're working on, but it might be where you want to get to. So as a keynote speaker, if you sit down and if you think of yourself up on the stage, what are you thinking? What are you visualizing? Are you visualizing you're like an Anthony Robbins? Are you in a mega stadium? Is that what you want to be? Or possibly taking another model, if you look at people you admire, it could be Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres, is maybe being an interviewer something that is of interest to you? So interacting on stage with other people. Or are you more comfortable possibly speaking to smaller groups? So I think when you start to look at your goals or your vision for being a keynote speaker, try to visualize yourself on stage in the environment that makes you the happiest, where you feel that you have actually finally reached that goal. So I want you to really think about that. It's something that you may not have allowed yourself to really dream. you know, and really think in a much bigger way. But if you want to go right to the top and, you know, have stadiums of people come to hear you, then you need to set that as the destination, because everything you will do between now and that destination, and it's different for everybody, how are you going to get there? And so what I will talk about are the steps that you need to kind of take you from where you are today, and how you are going to use collaboration to get you to that end goal with your keynote speaking business. Because if you aren't clear about the end goal, you may end up forming collaborations, partnerships, saying yes to things that aren't really going to serve you to get to that end point. And you may go off in certain divergent ways. And the problem with entrepreneurs is we get excited, we've got lots of ideas. If someone gives us an idea that's kind of vaguely kind of related, you know, it's very easy to go way off track. So I want you, as the first step, you know, now in your thought process, to really think that with laser focus and laser vision, dare yourself to dream. What do you look like on the stage? What does it feel like? What are you wearing? You know, how are you feeling? And whatever environment that is where you're going to be happiest. That is your end goal. And let's see now how we can get you there through collaboration. So visualizing is critical. The minute you visualize, your brain can already start to create the pathways to get you there. And there's a lot of research on the power of visualization. And so I highly encourage you, as a starting point, to visualize where you want to be. Now, why you need to embrace collaboration is that it will get you to where you want to get to faster. And it actually may even get you beyond. And it might take you into different industries. It might take you into different parts of the world. That's the excitement of it. That if you have that laser focus, then you can start to create that map, that collaboration map, that planning to get you there. So that would be my first advice for kind of step one of the key steps to implementing your collaboration plan. Now, I imagine that amongst the group here, there's a very diverse range of expertise. So you, I imagine, are all speaking on quite different topics. Your expertise is in different areas, and what you are presenting on or wish to present on is very different, which is absolutely fine. But one thing I would encourage you to do as step number 2 is to really think about what is your expertise. That is, what do people know you for? If you're not already at the stage where I guess you would consider yourself a confident thought leader in your area, what do you want to be that thought leader of? What is that one key expertise that you are known for? And that could be a key expertise in your business. So I'll just give you a bit of background. My background is international trade and small business growth. So for 20 years, I had a career in international trade in Australia. I had a trade show where I taught people, the trade show taught people how to start and grow an import-export business in my industry, which was international trade. In Australia, I was considered a thought leader in my industry. So it's a niche industry, but that was my industry. And I was really good at that. That was my expertise. So I had a consulting firm, as well as the show, and I was able to kind of offer a few different service offerings. And then I was also called upon, you know, to speak to the media or to speak to keynotes or interviews, etc. Hi, Elena. And that was my expertise. That's what people knew me for. So I was able to really then form collaborations quite easily because I knew what my expertise was. So I therefore was able to easily identify complementary products and services that would strengthen my offering. So when you collaborate, what you want to make sure that you are trying to achieve is forming relationships, business relationships, collaboration relationships with other small business owners that are very complementary to you. So they are bringing things to the table that they value you for, because they don't have that string to their bow, and you value them for what their strengths are. Together, your offering can be broader because you have different strengths. So I want you to already start to now think about complementary businesses that you're possibly already working with. Possibly complementary businesses. You might have friends, you know, in business in your city or in your country that could be complementary, that you've never even had the conversation with to actually identify if there are opportunities. Now, on our website for busy.co, we have 4 video modules on collaboration where we teach the collaboration plan. So it's kind of a little bit longer than what we're doing today, and it includes a workbook. So all the information that I'm giving you, they're like worksheets, and you can actually start to fill in everything you need to do. So that's free. You can just jump on and get that. Busy's free to join. And so when it comes to thinking about complementary businesses, that is going to be the key to expanding your offering. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of an example here, a bit of a case study, my own example of how I was able to form a very, very effective collaboration and build actually a really good business around complementary offerings. So I was a solopreneur. I started my business actually accidentally. My journey to entrepreneurship was quite accidental. I was fired. I was made redundant from my job when I was 5 months pregnant. The Chamber of Commerce that I worked in went out of business in quite a scandalous way, and we all lost our jobs. And I found myself unemployed and already showing with my pregnancy. And it's like, am I ever going to be able to get a job? And I had a few stressful nights. And then all of a sudden, I had this kind of light bulb moment that I was going to basically start a business offering the services that I offered at my job. And because the chamber went out of business, there was going to be no one else offering that. So what I was doing, I was running an international trade division of the chamber, and I worked with ambassadors from who were based in Australia and based in Sydney and Canberra, our national capital. And every time they brought business delegations in to the state, they would come to the Chamber of Commerce, and I would do like this, like, welcome to New South Wales. And I would give them a little bit of a talk on the state and the economy, and you know, a bit of a warm welcome, and then they went on their way. So I decided to set up a business where I would contact all those ambassadors and offer them to come to me privately, and I would also organize events. I would organize the business matching, and I called myself Trade New South Wales. So this is quite interesting. And the reason I'm telling you that is because it sounds quite governmenty. And lo and behold, I started getting calls from small business owners who thought I was the government and were asking me for all sorts of help. And I realized that there was a lot of questions from small business owners around how to start and grow an import-export business. No one knew what grants to get. There was a huge problem with knowledge amongst the small business owners. And then one night I literally came up with this idea that I was going to organize this massive trade show to teach people how to start and grow an import-export business. Now, I had the baby already, but I was still a solopreneur with a small child, trying to set up my first business, and trying to kind of get credibility. But I was one person, and I didn't feel that I had the confidence to really kind of go out there and create what I wanted to create. So I decided that the only way I was going to get credibility was to collaborate with other people in my industry who were expert in certain things. And so I started to kind of conceptualize this idea for a trade show. Now, trade show takes, dozens of different small businesses to make it happen. Everything from the trade show stands to even the registration process, all the exhibitors, the sponsors, the content, bringing the speakers in to deliver that, getting the audience there. There were dozens of people that I would need to work with. And obviously I was thinking, how am I going to afford to pay this? And obviously I couldn't, it was going to cost many hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on this event that I had, had in my head. And so I decided to build it by contacting all these small businesses who were looking to generate income for their businesses. And together we formed a collaboration where we literally shared resources. We came together as a massive group to put together this really great event. And I ran that show for 7 years, and I never had permanent staff. I had a little office. As far as my sponsors and the government were concerned, Trade New South Wales, which then became Trade Australia, was a big organisation. It was smoke and mirrors, because I, as a solopreneur, decided to collaborate with other business owners. Together, we looked like a big force. And as a result, I started getting government tenders to deliver other major events, and I just brought all the same collaborators in, and we started to get introduced to other collaborators through other ways, and it just became this incredible opportunity. And I fundamentally stayed as a solopreneur. I was a one-woman show, but nobody from the outside, except my collaborators, had any idea. So that is the power that you can have when you can create new things with other small business owners. So I don't want you in any way to feel that just because you're a small business or you're a solo practitioner, that you are in any way limited to create something really quite marvelous and quite huge and give the impression that you're much bigger. So when I talk about this, I want you to start to think about, wow, these are the kinds of ideas that I can have. And I'd never done a trade show. I went into an industry that I'd never even dared to enter. I was organizing kind of events, little events for the consulates, little kind of little kind of showcases and information nights. I never dared to even think I could go into the trade show business, which was an entire industry in its own, but I did it. And I did it through collaboration, and I stayed as one person and just brought people in, and we shared resources. At the beginning, we went through everybody's needs. We figured out, what everyone wanted to get out of it. We came up with a way to split the money. I had kind of one or two key people, so we kind of ran the whole thing, and all those other businesses got paid in a mix of as providers and also on some profit share. And we got speakers in, and we got kind of smaller keynote speakers and bigger keynote speakers, and then started to get those contacts as well. So I want you to think about, ways that your expertise can be implemented, utilized. The knowledge that you have can be broadened, possibly even into other sectors. So who are your customers? Who are your clients? Does anybody else have that similar profile as a customer? So if your customer is, women aged 35 to 50, for example, who are mothers, and you're selling X, are there, 5, 10, 20 other businesses that also want to reach that target market, yet are not offering an identical service to what you are, or product to what you are offering? These are all people that you can potentially collaborate with and offer a much stronger and broader offering. So think about currently who your customers are, different ways that you can present and package up what you offer, and how you can use collaboration with other small businesses to get you there faster. Now, on our website, we've got on just the homepage, we've got a bunch of case studies as well with collaboration. So feel free to jump on that, read them, be inspired. I mean, everything from renovation collaborations to businesses who've even used collaboration, competitors. This is a great story. So I also want you to think that you can also collaborate with your competitors, which sounds like an unusual thing to do, to actually save costs. So as a group of competitors, if you have a particular service provider that is common to all of you, and you need to pressure that provider to give you a better price, or maybe you've got an issue with regulation in your industry, and all your competing businesses are really annoyed because the government is like stopping you doing something, you can come together to collaborate to actually force pressure as well. And this example was actually a strip of restaurants on a street here in Singapore that were getting their deliveries at different times of the day. They decided to coordinate, and they all saved money because they got like a big group order. And then they also realized they had the same point of sale software, and the provider was kind of screwing them all on the training and all the extra costs. So they pressured them as a group and said, if you don't come down and do this as one group training, we'll pull the product. So you can use collaboration to boost your business, to make more sales, and also to find efficiencies and to save costs. So that's something that you may not have already thought about. So what I would encourage you to do is really sit down and think about all the different types of complementary businesses that exist. There could be dozens, there could be 100. Think of every potential possible complementary business that is complementary to yours that you could one day work with. And that will get you to, the exercise might not generate anything in itself, but what it will do is get you to start thinking about ways you can grow your business in a different way. All small businesses lack resources, money, time, staff. You may lack knowledge. You may lack access to contacts and opportunities. By collaborating, you can leverage other people to give you that access to their networks, access to knowledge that you didn't have. For example, you could be in a particular industry that has a certain issue in your country. You could actually start to reach out to a business person in another country in the same sector, possibly with an identical type of business, and start to share notes about what works in their country, what doesn't, and start to understand. But if you don't put it out there, if you don't ask for help, and if you don't seek and research to better yourself and better your business, you will not be able to go far. Okay, no one can do it alone. So write that list of complementary businesses as step 2. Now, step 3, once you have those list of complementary businesses, think again about that end goal, that vision, and think about what, are certain people, you can even rank these potential collaborators. Are certain people more important to get to know? Do you need to access certain people? How are you going to access those people? Who do you know? Use networks, use your relationships. People are very supportive, and I think, if you ask for help, you'll be blown away by how many people will open up, in the olden days, their Rolodex, and open up, their email and just start to introduce you to people and make those connections for you. So small business owners are very generous. Everybody's been through the struggle, and, always willing to share and open up and at least start conversations and start to get a sense of who is around that can help you get to that end point that you're looking to get to. I also want you to think, when you talked about who are your customers, I also want you to think about who are not your customers. So who isn't buying from you, and why aren't they buying from you? And how can you identify those people and try to reach out to those people to increase sales as well? So sometimes people think, oh, who are my customers? And, I've got them here and I want to make them happy. You've also got non-customers who potentially you can get on board and then double your income, not only just from your customers and keeping them happy. It's obviously easier to sell to customers, but try to find as well non-customers, and how are you going to kind of collaborate with certain people who maybe have your non-customers, and try to do things together to also get a whole new customer base. So that takes me to the list of complementary businesses. And then it's very much a process of going out and now, connecting with them and starting conversations. Relationships take time. Don't be in a rush. If you think about, where you were at a year ago and where you are at now, everyone has good years and bad years in business. And sometimes you go, oh, well, I was worse and worse this year than I was last year. I need you to think about your business journey in terms of kind of compound interest. So exactly the same way as, okay, if I start with my fitness today and I chip away, and every day I'm consistent with what I eat, I'm consistent with my exercise, in a year, I'm going to look amazing and I'm going to feel amazing and I'm going to be healthy. Think of your business in the same way. It's very easy to get frustrated by little setbacks, or maybe that you feel you should be getting to where you want to get to faster. What I would encourage you to think about is just to get that thought. It's a really negative way to think about business. And I think the problem with, say, a lot of this kind of startups and what you see in the news is like, oh, they had a business for 2 years and they sold it for $50 million. That doesn't happen to the majority of us. The majority of people that I have grown up with and have incredibly successful businesses, in the hundreds of millions of dollars, they have all had their businesses for 15 to 25 years. And it's taken that long for them to get there. And they have just stuck at it, and they have stayed focused, and they have chipped away, and they have figured out every day, what can I do every day to make today better than it was yesterday, to make my processes better than it was yesterday. So if you have that big dream to be, on that stage in that massive stadium, you just have to steadily get there. And that discipline will open doors, because you won't have an air of desperation or frustration about you, because you'll feel comfortable, you'll feel calm, and that will come across, because when you're comfortable and calm, you're more confident. And that will come across to people that you meet, rather than feeling, that you need to be at a particular place at a particular time. Now, what I want to come back, that leads me actually quite nicely into what Monique was introducing me at the beginning, to do with my blog, 40 to the Max. So I just wanted to talk about it, because it is interesting from a keynote speaker perspective. I was 39 and a half. I was exhausted. I'd moved to Singapore. I'd sold my business. I'd had my 3 children in 3.5 years. And I looked at myself in the mirror at 39 and a half, and I saw like this haggard, miserable woman, exhausted. And I was like, I can't possibly go into another decade feeling this dreadful. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I'm quite a positive person, but I was really quite depressed. And it took me a few weeks to kind of, get my head around what I was going to do. And I'm like, no, I've got to overcome this. It's a new decade. A new decade is an opportunity for a fresh start. And I woke up one morning saying, I'm going to live my 40s to the max. I didn't even want a 40th birthday party. I was that miserable. But I'm like, I'm going to have a party. I'm going to celebrate being 40. I'm not going to have a midlife crisis. I'm going to embrace this new decade. And what I had realized is the pattern that I had had in my 30s was that I had set goals for myself every new year, New Year's resolutions. And I got to the end of the year and I hadn't achieved anything. I was still overweight, and I was still not, at wherever I was with my business. And, I was still frustrated, and I was still this, and I was still that. And all these negative emotions came up. So that means I was starting every year feeling negative, and then also mildly optimistic that if I made new resolutions, maybe I'd feel better. And I never did. So in my 40s, I'm like, okay, I've got to just end that cycle of feeling that I need to achieve amazing things in a 1-year period. Because I realized I'm setting myself up for failure. Because more often than not, you can't do everything that you set yourself on the 1st of January until the end of December. So I decided to set a 10-year vision for my life. I called it my maximalist, a decade-long approach to my 40s. And I wrote a list of 40 experiences and activities and things I wanted to achieve in my 40s. And I sat down for 2 hours and I dreamed. I had these like incredible things that I wanted to do, places I wanted to travel, the kind of person I wanted to become, the kind of parent I wanted to be. And on my list was to build a business that made a global impact. And interestingly, at the time, I started to write blogs and I thought, oh, you know, what do bloggers do? Or they're like influencers. And I looked at YouTube and I found all these like teenage girls who were like spruiking all these products. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll do that. And it obviously didn't work. And so I started to actually dig a bit deeper, and I've never really been one to show my emotions, but I decided to I had a lot of stuff about my 30s that I needed to get out of my system because I was just so tired. And so I started to write, I guess, more raw blogs on my website. And the minute I did, all my friends who were in a similar situation, turning 40, all started to write to me to say, oh my gosh, you know, that's how I feel. You're so brave to say it. I didn't feel brave. I just felt relieved that I got it out of my system. But they saw that as a huge, an inspiring step of courage. And so I kept writing, and before I knew it, I had this, you know, group of 30,000 women growing, you know, every day around the world who were resonating with what I had written. And why this is relevant is that I had a lot of pressure from business mentors who went, you know what, you're onto something with this 40 to the max. You could build a business out of 40 to the max, go into podcasting, have a product range, have an activewear range. And I was kind of being pushed in this direction because my writing, which was from my heart, had taken off. People thought that I could turn it into a business, and it wasn't sitting well with me at all. What I loved to do was share. And so I started to do a lot of speaking engagements and keynotes to women's groups at International Women's Day, and also at the Women Economic Forum where I met Monique, on what it felt like to kind of, you know, be a woman, entrepreneur and a mum, and really trying to juggle it all and not doing a very good job. And that's when I realized, on my list was to build a business that made a global impact, that it wasn't going to be 40 to the max. But what I then struggled with as a keynote speaker was, well, I can speak on 40 to the max stuff, women's empowering stuff. And then I've also got all my small business collaboration and all that knowledge. Can I be a keynote speaker in two very divergent topics, themes? And what I've decided to do is actually weave in my entrepreneurial journey, my personal journey into this small business collaboration. And when I go to talk to women's groups, I make sure that they know that I am an entrepreneur and that I do have this business. And that business is the culmination of this whole experience of turning 40 and realizing that I needed to build a business that made a global impact. I needed to feel that I could build something massive that would have a huge impact on families and communities, because when you strengthen small business, you strengthen the world. And so I would encourage you as well to dig deep when it comes to your speaking and see if you can weave in some personal stories that have brought you to where you are now. The reason I say that is every time I speak personally and I speak from the heart and I speak authentically, it resonates, 1,000-fold with the audience than if I went and did a very dry presentation on small business collaboration. So don't be afraid to tap in to other interests. other hobbies, anything that can come through in your speaking when you're on the stage that can add a sense of personality and authenticity is not something to be feared, even in a corporate environment, even in an environment where you think the audience might be a little bit more conservative, or because at the end of the day, everybody in the room is a human being and everybody has struggles and everybody wants to feel a connection to you as the speaker. And so I have found a way to weave it in, and I'm sure Monique can guide you, you know, if you are looking to kind of, you know, develop certain keynotes that have a more personal aspect and can, you know, also blend in the expertise that you're offering. I think for me, I've had the biggest impact on audiences. And that is what people remember me for, and people will write to me afterwards and express, you know, that it has really touched them on a certain level. And, you know, if you are speaking on business, you know, show some vulnerability if you have struggled with business, because nobody in business has done it in a way that has been all smooth sailing. So I'm sure Monique covers that, you know, that kind of rawness and authenticity and humanity into your keynote speaking. And I think that's the way that I've been able to meld the two major parts of my life in a way that works for me, and everyone will find a way that works for them. But my 40 to the max is my entire my decade-long approach is guiding every single thing I do. So I have a vision of what I want to be at 50 and where I want to be at 50. I want to have an island, my own island. I want peace and quiet. I want to have internet and a coral reef and peace and quiet. Like, that's my ultimate destination. So I'm building to be able to realize that by the time I'm 50. And obviously the business that will have the impact, but I just want the island, the peace and quiet. And I know that it's small steps that are going to get me there. And I have to say, the minute I let go of that sense of urgency, and I think a lot of, it's not urgency, it's personal pressure. I believe in business, you should work with a sense of urgency, in that, you know, you should, if you come up with an idea and you can implement it quickly, get it done, get ahead of the market, and just push forward with a sense of urgency. But when it comes to your own sense of well-being, do not, you know, so many entrepreneurs have very high standards and put a lot of pressure on themselves. And what that leads to is the feeling that you have to get to a certain place in a certain time frame. The minute you release that, you can actually plan the small steps with clarity of mind and calmness that will get you there. And since I have adopted that, I have become much happier and much calmer and actually much more productive, because I can work in little bursts and I can take breaks and I can have balance and I can just get it done. And I guess it's a lifetime of programming. You know, some people are high achievers and they set themselves high standards, but you're really setting yourself up for disappointment and failure if that's the only way you operate. So chip away at it, and collaboration, relationship building, these are all foundation making stuff. So you build strong foundations. I have a network, a massive network that I've built over 20 years. And I've never really asked them for anything, you know. And recently I was organizing the Small Business Collaboration Summit. And, you know, after 20 years of building relationships, I was finally able to ask, you know, some pretty massive entrepreneurs that I've known for decades, that they've gone on to become, you know, squillionaires, you know, many hundred millionaires. I was able to just send them an email and say, you know, will you speak at the summit? Every single person said yes, because it's relationships. You know, I called it in when I needed to, and they were gracious and said yes. So every contact is someone that you can use, that you can call on in the future. And if you are strategic about the way you build your career, you will have those people. And if you change, it doesn't matter. Those people will stay with you, because if they respect you and they respect your direction, so you might be doing one thing and then suddenly go, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to set up a business in this, because this is actually where my passion was. Your network will support you because they know you, and they wish you well. So leveraging relationships is critical to getting you access to opportunities and to the collaborations that you need to grow your business and to getting you to where you want to get to. I wanted to just talk about just two other interesting case studies of friends who, one's a friend and one's actually someone I interviewed for the Small Business Collaboration Summit. So the first one's actually David Noor. So David Noor's a guy in the US. He is a consultant to multinationals. He is a best-selling author of about 10 books. His two most famous books are Relationship Economics and Co-Create. And I interviewed him, and I've actually made that public. So I'll also share that to Monique and give her the link, because that's public. And I want everyone to watch it, because he has written a book about co-creation, about what is involved with businesses coming together to co-create, what's involved in you co-creating with your customers. So your customers love what you do, and then suddenly it's like they want, you know, they can see opportunities to have other products from you. You know, are you listening? Are you able to co-create products that with your customers? Are you able to, you know, enhance your offering by listening to what is going on around you? And I honestly was blown away by this book. I believe everybody should read it. And what he said, a really interesting point. He said, as a speaker, he's a keynote speaker, very well known. He speaks at like major, like Coca-Cola conferences, and you know, he's pretty much on the road most of the time. He's either writing books, consulting, or as a speaker. And he said that in the life of a keynote speaker, you kind of have a topic that you talk about, but after a while it gets tired. You know, people don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. You've got to keep coming up with fresh content. So what he has done, he said this is like a bit of a bell curve where you're kind of going up with this the momentum of your current topic, and then you kind of plateau, and then it's, you know, this inevitable dip where people don't want to hear that anymore. So what he has done is, when he kind of gets up to the top, he comes up with a whole other keynote. So while he's starting to dip, he's got the other one coming up on the rise, a bit like a wave, this kind of curves. And he has written books. So he'll write a book about the methodology, the philosophy, some new angle that he's got. And so he kind of pedals the book with this new angle, with this new keynote. So he's still talking about the last book, but then he's got something new coming up. And I thought that was actually a really interesting kind of visualization if you are looking to be a you know, professional keynote speaker, to just keep it fresh, keep new angles, and use the opportunity of being a keynote presenter to keep innovating your message and amplifying your message in new and fresh ways and with new angles. And he gave a great story or a discipline, I guess, that he has. He said, even though he's a keynote speaker, he never just turns up for his speech. He always comes, you know, either for the day or, you know, a good few sessions beforehand to listen to the other speakers. He said he learns so much from the content of the other speakers at conferences, and he writes down notes. And the day after his keynote, he sits down in the morning and he goes through all his notes of what the other speakers have talked about. I thought that was really, and I thought that was actually a really, really clever thing to do. So you know, when you are a speaker at a conference, and I know everyone's got adrenaline and you're thinking about your own presentation, his idea of actually coming earlier and listening to other speakers and being inspired by them, possibly being able to create additional content, or just sparks, there's something that will spark that will take him to the next presentation that he can create. So I will share that interview because I loved it. I mean, Monique and David's were my favorite interviews. I've put them on the first day because the knowledge that they shared is transformational for any small business. So I'll share those two with you. Now, here's an interesting one. My friend Anna had a Facebook page. She was a yoga instructor and a very spiritual person. And she has a very incredible life story. She's overcome a number of things, and she kind of talks about that. And she built this like nice little community. But as she said, she kind of felt that she was playing small. You know, she has grand visions. So when I talk about, you know, someone wanting to be like an Anthony Robbins, she feels she wants to go all the way. So that's in her head now. She's made that shift. She's like, she's going all the way. So she's now got to figure out how she's going to get there. And she realized that she needed to get on the stage of some bigger conferences. So she started to connect with conference owners that organized really big conferences. And one of the things she has developed a talent for is interviewing people, business owners or spiritual people. And she's particularly articulate. She's fantastic. So she asked, instead of being a keynote speaker, very clever, she says, is there any speaker that I can interview? Just ask a few questions and turn that into a segment. And sure enough, she got an opportunity at this massive conference to interview someone extremely well known and ask some questions. And her area of specialty is social media marketing. So she asked this very famous actress, you know, about how she manages her brand online, and it was all kind of connected to her business, but she was then able to really command this stage. And I think she's got a really big future ahead of her. And one thing that will come through all the interviews, I do encourage you to sign up and watch them. What will come through is this sense of courage, in terms of most of the people had a particular break. You know, they went up to someone very well known, or they had a chance meeting with someone very well known, and they just took their chance. You know, one guy here in Singapore went up to like this famous fashion designer. He was a nobody. He was like 19, and he went up. He said, I've just started my own label. I'd love you to mentor me. And the guy was like one of the top fashion designers in Singapore, and he was so impressed by this kid's, like, you know, confident attitude. He went, sure. And again, it goes back to that thing about asking for help or asking for advice. You know, successful people love to give back. They love to help. So contact people. You never know. Like this guy that I contacted, David Noor, actually everybody who I interviewed, except for maybe 2 or 3, is in my circle, is in my network. This David Noor, I read his book, I was blown away. I literally cold emailed him and he responded. So, you know, I had no idea how to reach him, and I just wrote to him, and it was just an incredible experience, such a good guy. So step out of your comfort zone. If you feel you need to get somewhere, then you need to find out who it is, how it is, and just go and just ask. The worst they can say is no. The best they can say is, yep, what do you need? Who do you need me to connect you to? You just never know. So I don't ever want you to feel limited, because what collaboration gives you is unlimited growth. It's limitless, because the minute you kind of catch that collaboration bug and start to think about how you can work with other businesses to get you to where you want to get to, you will have a new way of growing your business that doesn't require you to come up with more money, to come up with more resources that you don't have. Use collaboration as your currency. That's a good phrase. I'll have to patent that. Use it as your currency. It's your cash. That's how you're going to grow. Okay. If you don't have a lot of money in the bank, which I don't, we're a startup, we have to collaborate, you know. So this was very, you know, strategic for us. Yes, I want everybody to know, small businesses to know about small business to know about collaboration. I want them to be exposed to this unbelievable knowledge of these journeys of these small business, of these successful entrepreneurs. But you know what we've created? I've literally collaborated with 30 speakers, and I now have 30 really influential people who know about Busy, who know about my business, and who can sense, you know, our enthusiasm and desire to grow. And we can now start to build relationships with those people and just see where it takes us. So think creatively. If it is about creating an event, if you're a speaker and you don't have a stage to go on, no one's hiring you yet, make your own stage. That's what I did with Import Export Show. We made our own event. We gave ourselves a stage. We gave ourselves an audience. So that's really, I think, where I'm going to stop. I think I've talked for way too long. So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Oh my God, Miriam, that was such a firework. Thank you. I loved it. And I took lots of notes. I mean, you know, I love to learn and grow and, you know, evolve and lift everyone up this way too. So this is so beautiful and powerful. So I don't know if anyone here has questions for Miriam. I'm sure you all do. Maybe they come after the call as well, but if you have something right away.
Feel free, you know, I'm happy to, and like if you want to email me after, like.
Right. And Miriam, we just also make sure that you're part of our community so that you will see what people are saying after the call, and if there's any additional questions coming up.
Please,
you know,
please, and I'll send you all the video links and everything that you can share. That's
perfect.
Amazing.
But is there any questions that anyone has? Just, you know, unmute yourself or put them into the chat. I mean, there would be so many that I could be asking, but I just want to give the space to everyone else because, you know, Miriam, you and I are friends. We are connected anyhow. I can ask you anything anyhow.
Miriam.
But yeah, go ahead. Doug, you have a question?
So I have a very niche speaking platform, which is suicide.
Yep.
As a two-time victor over my attempts. When you talk about collaboration, what is the grand scheme of speakers in that? Because I know Kevin Hines, who is one of only 19 survivors to jump from the Golden Gate Bridge and live to tell about it.
Yes. Well, look, you are in a position to make a massive impact because everybody you speak to is a soul that you can touch. And if they are feeling that way, you have the opportunity, you know, by you being in that room and touching their soul, they may choose to live. Yeah. So what you do is super powerful. And there are many industries where suicide is a massive issue. So I mean, obviously schools, it's a huge problem. Youth, you've got, you know, servicemen, ex-servicemen, yeah? Anyone who has suffered any trauma. And, you know, I mean, that's a lot of the population, sadly, okay? I'm in the startup and entrepreneur space, and it's pretty terrible. You know, the pressure that some of these startup entrepreneurs place on themselves. I've got 4 or 5 friends who have all been very, very close to suicide this year, from a range of business not going well, then family not going well, and everything just snowballing. So you are in, this is not a niche. This is a major societal issue. And so I think you have a huge opportunity to collaborate with anybody who is trying to save lives and help people overcome trauma. So yeah, don't see it as a niche at all. I think the problem is way beyond a niche, and what you offer is a gift of hope and a gift of life. So
yeah, I fully agree. There's so many areas, Doug, where you can look into, and I know that one of your areas is military, right? Obviously, a lot of soldiers coming back for war. Okay, you know, that might be one of the most drastic areas where people really don't find their way back into life again, because they're going through major traumas, but as Miriam is saying, there's so many areas, even in business, okay, And even you can focus on suicide, but you could even see it earlier than that, because there's so much that's leading up to suicide that we could even prevent earlier in the stage. And that covers all kinds of businesses. Or Miriam and we met in India, right? Sometimes it's wherever pressure is huge, like societal pressure, there's so much pressure, for example, on women in India. Okay. And so I would think, industries, I would think places where people are under incredible pressure, where they go through traumas. You could look at nations, okay, after war zones, where there's incredible pressure. You could also think times, okay, because honestly, believe it or not, but I think the suicidal rate in Germany is highest around Christmas. We have Christmas coming up, okay? So there's so many aspects and perspectives of how you can approach it. And there's a lot of organizations, as Miriam is saying, that really have that as a mission, as a shared mission to prevent it. So even the whole medical world, okay? You could easily partner with any kind of like medical lobby groups and, even hospitals or anyone else. To be honest, your topic is massive, as Miriam is saying. Okay.
And I think if you came to, Doug, write all those, that list of all the complementary businesses, or we talked about, this is going to sound crude, who's your customer? So your customer is someone in crisis. Who else has that customer? And there are dozens of organizations, industries, age groups, and your speaking is one aspect, but you can start to contact whatever is going to spark, I guess, the most passion in you. It's a very broad, you have broad opportunity, but there may be something that is, like ex-servicemen or something specific that you really have a particular interest in. Find out who is working in that area, start to connect with them, start to build those people as your network, and then start to explore co-creation, see what you can create together. It could be an online help thing, it could be an event, it could be some counseling, it could be use technology, use workshops, use on the ground stuff, use a combination, and just work with all the people who are in that area. And the niche I would encourage you to do is actually find the niche, see what gaps there are and what services and what support is being offered, and see if you can come in and plug those gaps and offer something that no one else is offering. And it's not something you need to do alone. That's what I'm saying. Find the people who are working in that, start the conversations and start brainstorming and exploring. Your first attempts at collaboration might not go the way you wanted to. You'll start to learn who to collaborate with, the types of people that are your kind of, have the same values and the same vision. So don't necessarily jump into a collaboration straight away. Suss people out, have conversations, and find people who are truly aligned with the way you would deal with those situations. And find your kindred spirits and find people who are complementary, because if you're all expert at doing one thing, it's not going to help you create something that is a true offering. So find people from different angles. And please, come on to Busy. There are so many resources that you can just use and listen to, and videos and these amazing interviews. And I'm sure something will inspire you. And you can use the platform as well to reach out to other people. We already have actually a guy who's an ex-serviceman from New Zealand who was setting up actually his support for ex-servicemen. He created actually a security company because he found that a lot of people coming back, could get kind of security work because they'd already been in the army. And it was kind of giving them a job and giving them counseling at the same time, because to get employment was very, very difficult. For them to be back in that kind of, structured environment was very difficult. And then he was also using his skills. Again, he was an ex-soldier to teach self-defense to women. because he'd seen some terrible things when he was overseas as a soldier and didn't want women to get, wanted women to be able to protect themselves. So, he used his expertise to do 2 businesses. And so think about what your expertise is, because you can create, you're not limited to what you create. No one tells you, it's your business, it's your destiny. Do what makes you feel happy, that you can wake up in the morning and want to continue the good work you do.
Beautiful. Okay, Miriam, I think everyone is starting to look at time, wanting to go back after lunch break or breakfast, or okay. But anyhow, I really, 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 really appreciated you being here with us. Okay, you have an incredible experience, knowledge, expertise, and we share a passion and mission. And I also collaboration has made my business what it is today, big time, and it will help go far beyond big time. So collaboration is, as you said, the key to success. And I definitely going to quote you on use collaboration as your currency. That is so powerful.
Yes,
it's a
mine,
message.
yes. I've even written it with 2 little stars next to it.
Isn't that funny? We're creating our speeches while we speak, right?
That's
always happens. Like, what did I just say? That's amazing. Who said again? Anyhow, I really love and honor each and every one of you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Doug, for asking your question. There might be more questions coming up, Miriam, for you in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We will run this, our community calls off here at the end of November. We don't have one in December, but we're going to have another one in January with an amazing guest. But it's not January yet. So, Miriam, first of all, again, a big thank you for you being here. And I'm going to just share, this this page, the bitsy.co collaboration summit. I already shared the link with everyone here because I know some people will be curious to start looking into it, right? So I shared that here in the chat, and we'll share that again in our community so everyone will get access to it if they want to. And so everyone else that's here as well, we will be reaching out to you because we are also starting to launch a new journey, a 4-week journey on how to step up as a professional speaker. So I reach out to each of you individually, and some of the beautiful speakers that we have here with us today, I'm working with already. So you already got access to that information, and you'll be the first to know about it. But I'll reach out to all of you with that information of starting this professional speaker launch program for everyone that really wants to step up with their speaking professionally. So I'll let you know more about that. But Miriam, do you want to just round it off, give some last words of encouragement, advice on how to make collaboration our currency going forward?
I just wanted to really just thank everybody for such kind comments, obviously wishing everybody a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and let 2019 be the year that it all comes together, and start to lay those foundations now, start to think about collaborations for 2019, so that next Christmas, with those incremental steps that I talked about, it's a totally different you that is entering 2020. So thank you to Mark and Victor and Doug and Sarah and Lynn and Dirk and Katrine for being on the call. Thank you.
Exactly. And, for all of you, I know some of you want to listen to this again. We're going to make it available in our Hall of Fame. Okay. So, Miriam, we will share the recording with everyone. And as we know, we have like 850 other members with us, on this community. So, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for doing what you do. You're making a big difference. And we all know beating loneliness, beating our limitations of resources, time, money, everything by collaborating is just making all the difference for business, for us as speakers, and for life. So thanks for doing the amazing work you do. Thank you for all of you for being here with us, and just making an amazing next month. Okay, we still have some work to do this year. Okay. Yeah. To end this year strong and to start a new year in a fresh, powerful, new way. Let's all make sure we wrap collaborations into our agenda. Okay, good. Have a great time, everyone, and we'll be in touch. And thank you so much, Miriam and everyone, for being here with us today. All the best. Mwah.
Mwah. Bye, dear. Bye.